Okay. So yes, so when we read this verse, we see that Krishna doesn't start speaking to Arjun um, till this verse, till the Arjun surrenders. So somebody asked me this question many years ago, that if Krishna knows what is best for us, why do we have to pray? Why do we have to tell him that? Right? So the reason is that praying is seen as an activity for connecting with Krishna, not as asking something. When we speak out something, it strengthens our emotions. In our heart, I have something. When I speak it out loud, my emotions get strengthened. My conviction gets strengthened when I speak it out. So that is why when we all make a prayer to Krishna, even though Krishna is sitting right in our heart, he knows what is best for us. But when we make a prayer, we make our strengthen our relationship with him. That is why Krishna was waiting for Arjun to speak up and say, "Yes, I surrender to you." Right? So, but then that surrender uh, should be surrendering with intelligence. Don't surrender your intelligence. So understand there's a difference between surrender with intelligence and surrendering our intelligence. Right? So Bhagavad Gita's mood is about surrendering with intelligence. You have to use your intelligence while you're surrendering. It's not like just, oh, my mind is shut, I've given everything, I'll just, no intelligence. I won't use any intelligence of mine. No, we have to use intelligence also. And Arjun is very clearly saying out here that he's he's being tormented emotionally, right? And the physical gratification cannot solve the problem. So as long as we are connected to this material world, problems will always be there. Only when we connect with Krishna, then only true happiness happens. So we have to surrender to Guru to overcome perplexity. Right? So Guru removes the gross ignorance of the disciple, which he does by giving Atma Tattva, knowledge of the self. That's what the Guru does. And that's what Krishna is going to do from this verse onwards. Okay? However, it's important that we have faith in the instructions of the Guru. Right? Once, if a Guru gives us an instruction, we should take it to our heart and try to live it as much as we can. There was once this, there was a there was a person who wanted to learn martial arts, I think taekwondo, judo, something. And he was looking for a guru, a teacher who could teach him. But that person, he didn't have one hand. So nobody would accept him. He says, what kind of a martial art will I teach you if you don't have one hand? So one day he heard that, oh, there's this one guru who lives up in the mountains, and he has this his ashram there. You go and talk to him. So he went there, and he was knocking the door of that ashram, but nobody opened up. So he just sat there the whole night. Next morning, somebody opened the door and came to clean the front of the door, and then they took him in, right? And he met the guru, and the guru said, "Yes, I will take you as my disciple, but you will only have to, but you will only do as I tell you. You will never question me. You will never question my decisions, never question my art, never question anything." Right? He said, "Okay." So for the next year, the guru only taught him one trick, or one, whatever you call it, one art of that judo or whatever it may be. Yes, Sandeep.
Prabhuji, has Arjun in this text accepted Krishna as his guru? Because so far he has been his friend, right?
Yes, now he's accepted as his guru. Shishyasteham sadhi mam tvam prapannam. He says that, right?
So,
Now
would
I
it,
am your disciple, and a soul surrendered unto you.
because like getting a guru is more like a diksha, samaru, and all of that, right? That happens, and there's a formal process accepting a guru. But in this case, it's just like on the spot kind of thing, right?
Guru, when you accept a guru, those are external things. You will have a fire sacrifice, a ceremony. All that is external. It is needed because we all are in Kali Yuga. Even till Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's time, Mahaprabhu never sat down and gave a fire sacrifice and initiation to his disciples. When Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami went to see him, they just surrendered to him. And he said, from now on, you are Rupa and Sanatana, and you are my disciple, you are my beloveds. There was nothing formal that. It's more of a Kali Yuga thing because people are so fallen now, unless you literally make them say those vows, make them sit in front of a fire sacrifice and chant mantras, it just doesn't kind of get into their mind that we have surrendered. But surrendering is a matter of your heart, not a matter of your external things. Everything external is external. If your heart doesn't change, I have seen disciples, they have taken gurus, but they do all sorts of nonsense. There is no guru-disciple relationship there. They might have been initiated in front of thousands of people. They might be wearing a kanti mala given by their guru, might have chanting beads by their guru. But if they're not following the orders of the guru, they are useless. No, not of use. The process that you see now in ISKCON, Prabhupada established this in this when he came to the Western world because the people were so fallen that they would never understand this concept of surrender. They had to be given a very, very formal process, formal rules and regulations, formal, everything formalized. Prabhupada knew that if I don't give them this, they'll just fall off the path again. Did that help, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. So yes, that the student was learning from his teacher. The teacher said, don't ask me any questions. So he kept teaching him only one thing throughout his year, right? And then what happened was that, a tournament came, something of that sort. And all his disciples, all the disciples of that teacher, they went and fought and, they lost. But then this disciple never got a chance, the disciple with one hand. So at the last, it was like the final of the whole tournament. The guru asked his disciple, this disciple without a hand, to go and fight now. And everybody was laughing. Whom are you sending for the final? He just has one hand. The other guy will just kick him out in a minute. Surprisingly, the guru knew that the person who was in the final opposite to his disciple, he had one strong trick, but for that trick to be effective, his opponent had to have both the arms. And because this disciple only had one arm, the other person, the opponent, could never do his trick. And so this student of his, the one without an arm, was easily able to defeat that other person with that only single one trick that his guru had taught him. So now I'll open up. So tell me, what are the things that you understood in this, and how do you connect this to the guru-disciple relationship we were talking about? Give me 4 things that, and one by one, don't all of you tell me in one go, but tell me what are the things what is the message you get from this story about a guru-disciple relationship? Somebody who's not spoken, and let me see who all are there, and I can probably call out names. Saina, you want to tell me? You're there?
Yeah.
Yeah, tell me.
You can see that the guru knows the disciple and knows what's best for the disciple, even if the disciple and the guru have just met or seem to not know each other that well. Once the guru accepts the disciple, he does it he does take full responsibility of the disciple and knows about him.
That's a very good one. Yes, the guru knows how can I fix the challenge this disciple of mine is having. In this case, the story I was telling, he turned the handicap of that disciple into an asset. Right? A guru knows that. Right? Guru helps us become a better person. That's a very good one. So let's see who else is there. Who's there? Pratyush Prabhu, you want to share something? Something you learned from that story?
Yeah, Prabhuji, yeah, the Guru can help us come out of the situation, whatever we are stuck in, and yeah, that's the one point which I.
Okay. Okay, that's good. Yes, but then tell me from a disciple's perspective. Tell me what the disciple was doing that attracted the Guru's mercy. Who can tell me that?
Can I say, Prabhu?
Yes, please.
He has a faith in his Guru.
Yes, he had undying faith in the Guru. Yes, that's very good. Yeah. What else did he have? He had undying faith, and that is demonstrated by his desire to learn. And that inquisitiveness brought him to his Guru. However, there was something else that happened. What was something more that happened that shows us another quality of that disciple?
Patience. So I think the Guru was teaching him the same skill all year round, and the disciple trusted the Guru, and he did not question his Guru that why he just learning one skill. Is that it?
Yeah, yeah, he was obedient, yes. I was thinking more about, when he was searching for a guru, he went and knocked the door of his ashram, but nobody opened up. So he sat there the whole night. Because he didn't just leave. So it shows perseverance. So he had perseverance, and his perseverance also was demonstrated by the fact that he didn't question his guru, even though his guru was teaching him the exact same thing throughout that year. So yes, those are some of the qualities, right? So having faith, undying faith, having the guru knows how he can convert our handicap to an asset, having perseverance, and uh, obedience. Yes, right. And Prabhupada demonstrated all of these qualities, and his disciples also demonstrated it. Right. Whenever Prabhupada saw a spark, he fanned it. He never saw defects. Right. Uh, for example, and then he knew what is the message that these people need. When Prabhupada came here, it was a country of hippies. Right. Hippies were really renounced. They didn't want all the material things of their parents. Their parents were like rich millionaires, billionaires, but they didn't want all that. They were not happy with that. And then Prabhupada comes and introduces them to Krishna, right? But the way Prabhupada introduced is very interesting. If you notice that, if you had seen videos or pictures of the hippie era, everybody was colorfully dressed. They would wear beads, etc. So Krishna, as a Bhagavan, as God, really attracted them, right? He's a musician. He has girlfriends. He wears yellow-colored pants. He has long hair. He wears a peacock feather. Hippies found him to a bona fide hippie guru, hippie god. Right? So Prabhupada also gave his disciples a very hip lifestyle. You're dancing at 4 in the morning. Who dances at 4 in the morning? Exotic food, exotic spices. They were all intoxicated by the spiritual culture. So hippies, those attributes in hippies which the world was seeing as disgusting, the Guru, Sri Prabhupada, took them and turned them into advantage. Right. So that's the beauty of a guru. But then the disciple had faith. I was in New Vrindavan, and I might have told you all this before also. I was in New Vrindavan. As you all might know, there is His Holiness Vasana Maharaj. He lives there. One time I got a chance to talk to him, and I asked him this question. I think there was one more devotee with me, Gaur Keshav Prabhu. And then we asked him that, Maharaj, what is it that kept you going for so many years? 50 years Prabhupada has left. So he said, we have Guru Bhakti. And that was what a profound statement, that we had Guru Bhakti, devotion for Guru. Forget Krishna, devotion for Guru. That will take you to Krishna. That's the value of Guru. Right? So Guru Bhakti. Okay, so this is a long discussion about this, but this is a very important verse. So you have to fully understand it, imbibe it, follow it. Okay, let's move on to the next verse. 8th verse. So Arjun, I can find no means to drive away this grief which is drying up my senses. I will not be able to dispel it even if I win a prosperous, unrivaled kingdom on earth with sovereignty like the demigods in heaven. So, yes, so he's now surrendered. Arjun has surrendered, right? But then Krishna is also thinking that, hey, I just gave you a pep talk and you just smashed it. Right? So the important thing is that Krishna wanted to understand what is it that Arjun is desiring. Sometimes when people surrender, Their desire might be things like, mundane benefits, job, money, etc. People in India, they go to gurus and say, "Oh, please bless me. May I have a son? May I have a son, and or may I have my business be successful and all that." So that's happening. But if somebody goes there with this intention, uh, then it doesn't work. Right? You cannot fool Krishna. So what Arjun is saying here, that what will I do even if I win the kingdom? Nothing. So he's saying, I'm looking for transcendental knowledge, right? And there's something very nice. So Prabhupada says, academic knowledge, scholarship, high position, etc., are all useless in solving the problems of life. Help can be given only by a spiritual master like Krishna, right? Arjun had everything else. Right? He was quoting Shastra left and right, right? Vedas say this, Vedas say that. He had bodily beauty. He was a Kshatriya. He had knowledge. He had aristocratic relatives. Despite all that, nobody could solve his crisis. So similarly, in our life, we will have checkmate problems, right? And nothing will help us. So we will have to submit to transcendental knowledge. That's what Arjun is highlighting here. Okay. 9th verse. So now here Sanjay is coming back again in the picture. Having spoken thus, Arjun, chastiser of enemies, told Krishna, Govinda, I shall not fight. Right? Na yotsya iti govindam uktva tushnim babhuvaha. Right? So he says that. So, yeah. So yes, so now he's saying that Sanjay is just explaining that what's happening there. There are yeah. So Arjun is being called by two names, right? Gudakesha, Parantapaha. He's Gudakesha, he's the master of curbing ignorance, and he's the chastiser of enemies. So two names are being given to him here, right? This is to highlight that he's a great person, right? So even such a great person can be brought down to knees, right? And then there is this verse, which that Uktva. It's been come twice in this verse here, and Evam Uktva Rishikesha. So Uktva, speaking. So it's speaking. So Evam Ruktva Rishikesha Gudakesha Parantapa. So the first Uktva is referring to what Rishikesh, Krishna, spoke in the earlier verses. And the next Uktva is referring to what Arjun is saying now. So just understand, this is the beauty of Sanskrit verse. Each word can have multiple meanings. It can, how it's connecting to the words around it. So that's what he's saying. Having spoken thus, Arjun, chastiser of enemies, told Krishna, Govinda, I shall not fight, and fell silent. So what he has spoken in the past and what he's going to speak now, or what he's speaking now, they both have been demonstrated by the word Uktva. Right? Uktva. So Sanjaya is playing a very important role here because Dhritarashtra is listening to Sanjaya. And when Sanjaya speaks, Sanjaya is constantly tries to impress the fact on Dhritarashtra that your sons will not be able to win this battle. That is why Dhritarashtra was thinking that probably Arjun will leave the battlefield. He'll go for begging. But no, Sanjaya is calling him Parantapa, right? And so just to make it clear to Dhritarashtra that Arjun is not going anywhere. He's the chastiser of enemies. So yeah. And then Prabhupada in the purport, he talks of this phrase called false lamentation. So what is false lamentation? So Prabhupada says that false lamentation resulting from family affection and would be enlightened with perfect knowledge of self-realization or Krishna consciousness and would then surely fight. Right? So let me ask this question to all of you. Can Can lamentation be spiritual also? Let me see who hasn't spoken yet. Shivani, you want to give it a try? Can lamentation be spiritual? I can't hear you. No, I can't hear you. Okay. Looks like Shivani is having some technical difficulties. So let's see who else is there. I have to open up the participant list to look at it. Let's see. Vrinda, you're there? Is Vrinda there?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes, tell me, can lamentation be spiritual in nature?
It can be spiritual when it's connected to Krishna.
Okay, perfect. Can you give me an example?
Like Arjuna's lamentation was before the battle of Kurukshetra. He lamented materially out of like bodily attachment, and Krishna called that like ignorance. But when Arjuna surrendered to Krishna and like heard from him, his lamentation was purified, and it became spiritual because it led him to take shelter of Krishna.
Okay, yes, that's a good example. Who else can give me another example of lamentation? From Srimad Bhagavatam, give me an example. Deepti, yes, please, tell me.
Hare Krishna. So, lamentation of the gopis for Krishna when he left Rasa dance.
Yes, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Brahma laments when he takes away Krishna's friends. That's a lamentation, right? When Krishna was fighting Kaliya, Mother Yashoda was lamenting. Oh, my son has been, he's trapped in the hoods of Kaliya, right? So, a lot of lamentation in ecstatic love, what we are saying to Mother Yashoda, right? So, yeah, devotees can also have lamentation, but that has to be in favor of Krishna. For example, many devotees lament that we are not able to complete a service. Also, that's lamentation in spiritual life. Yes, thank you. Okay, so yes, so Prabhupada here is highlighting that there is false lamentation. So yes, so if it's the reason I brought up that question, because Prabhupada is using the word false. So if Prabhupada is saying there's false lamentation, there also has to be true lamentation, spiritual lamentation. So there's a contrast to this. Okay.
So, Prabhuji, is it right to say that no feeling is bad as long as it is tailored towards Krishna, including lamentation, anger, whatever that is, sadness, whatever, right?
You can use everything for Krishna's service, yes. However, it has to come with intelligence. Okay, always keep in mind. So as I mentioned earlier, we are not surrendering our intelligence to Krishna. We are surrendering with intelligence. While using our intelligence, we surrender to Krishna. We look at situations. We just don't become whimsical and say, oh, I'm surrendered to Krishna. I can do whatever I want to. Right? So we have to be cautious. Yes, but to answer you, yes, we can use anything for Krishna's service, properly thought out.
Okay.
When Prabhupada was in Vrindavan, one of his disciples came and told him about a guru, and he said, Prabhupada, that guru is so elevated, he doesn't even touch money. He doesn't look like the sight of money. He becomes very uncomfortable in presence of money. Prabhupada said, tell him whatever money he gets, give it to us. We will use it for Krishna's service. So Prabhupada knew the use of money also. Right? There is a verse in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Prapanchikata buddhaya hari samdhamandi vastuna mumukshubha parityage yuktam phalgu kathyate. that if you don't know, if you're not able to connect everything to Krishna, then it's falgu. Then all your renunciation is just a show off. It's not true renunciation. So we should be able to use everything for Krishna's service. Okay. O descendant of Bharata, at that time Krishna, smiling in the midst of both the armies, spoke the following words to the grief-stricken Arjun. So now this verse is the 10th verse. Now after this, Krishna will start speaking, right? So now this verse, if you see, it is connecting two different kinds of emotions. First, everything was friendly between Arjun and Krishna, right? They were joking. They used to joke around, and Krishna was saying something, Arjun was just rejecting it. And Krishna was looking at his friend and saying, oh my God, what has happened to my poor friend? But now that friend has become a student. So now Krishna is now going to act as a guru. So Krishna plays every role perfectly. So in this phrase, what is that? Okay. I was just looking something. So yes, here, O descendant of Bharata, right? So he's being called as descendant of Bharata here, right? So earlier Krishna only gave a pep talk, right? But Arjun had not made an inquiry, but now Arjun is making an inquiry. We are all eager to give advice. There is nothing more. There's nothing like free advice. Everybody wants to give free advice to everybody, right? So unwanted advice is often seen as an interference. If you give unwanted advice to somebody, they'll see it as an interference, not as an assistance. That is why Krishna didn't speak earlier. And that kind of unwanted advice is never appreciated. Yeah, you can give pep talk to people, but you cannot give them instructions. For instruction, that person has to surrender, right? Somebody might come and say to you, oh, you are my mentor. But being a mentor requires you to surrender. There has to be a significant amount of responsibility there. You should go and ask your mentor, oh, what is the right thing to do? Should I do this? Should I do that? Right? Otherwise, don't make people your mentor. The word mentor is very loosely used nowadays in this world, right? And a mentor would never give any advice to his mentee unless he knows that the mentor is genuinely surrendered or genuinely asking for help. That's what Krishna was waiting for Arjun to surrender. Now Arjun has surrendered, Krishna will give his instructions. Right? 2.7 was the surrender verse. Karpanya dosho pahata subhava. Right? So now in this verse, now the first thing we are seeing is Krishna is smiling, right? Somebody can question, why is Krishna smiling here? Arjun is lamenting, Krishna is smiling. So he's smiling because he's seeing that Arjun is acting in a very weird way. And Krishna is a very fun-loving God, so he teases everybody. Whenever he sees somebody being in a perplexing state, he teases them. Right? So when Krishna was coming as a peace messenger to Hastinapur, Bhima said to him, Krishna, please try for peace. And that Krishna smiles and looks at Bhima. Oh, Bhima, I didn't expect this from you. You know, all the 14 years of exile, you were breathing fire and practically thinking of this is how I'm going to kill them and so forth. And now suddenly you want peace, right? So it looks like when the war comes, even brave people become cowardly. So Krishna teases his devotees, but obviously the closed ones, not everybody. But yeah, so that's why Krishna is smiling here. That, oh my God, look at you. If you've ever seen a kid who's just going through something in life, and he feels that that's the biggest thing that's happening to him, and it's going to be shattering. But the parents know this is nothing, so they smile at him. So that's the same way Krishna is smiling at him. So he has a tendency to laugh on Arjun. He's just laughing because of that. But now he has surrendered. Right? His relationship has changed now. If a disciple expresses a problem to a spiritual master, the spiritual master cannot laugh at that. right? If the guru laughs, the disciple's heart will break, right? So Krishna is smiling, and so I showed you a reason, because he's seeing his friend in that, right? And also one more thing to understand here, it says prahasanna iva. Prasanna means smiling, like that. So the word iva means as if. So another way to look at it is that it looks as if he's smiling. Right? So Krishna is pleasantly surprised. Right? So yeah, so there are multiple ways of looking at why Krishna is smiling now. So if we all open up our intelligence to Krishna, Krishna will speak to us. And at the right time, he will tell us, do this, don't do this, accept this, don't accept this. Right? So that's something to keep in mind. And in this one, Prabhupada talks about something towards the end. Yes. It appears that the talk between the master and disciple was openly exchanged in the presence of both armies, so that all were benefited. So the talks of Bhagavad Gita are not for any particular person, society, or community, but they are for all. And friends or enemies are equally entitled to hear them. Okay. So something to understand here, that Bhagavad Gita was spoken and heard by everybody. Sometimes this confusion comes. So did Krishna only speak this to Arjun? Did Krishna speak to everybody? No. So Prabhupada is clearly describing here that no, Gita was spoken openly. But then you have to understand, one thing to understand is that not everyone understood it. Even though it was audible to everybody, Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains this, that Krishna's internal potency covered the understanding of others, so that Arjuna could receive the full meaning. Right? So yes, everybody heard it, but not probably understood it. Right? Just to keep something in mind. Prabhupada is highlighting this here in the purport. Okay. So we're coming to 11th verse. Now here Bhagavan is speaking. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, while speaking learned words, you're mourning for what is not worthy of grief. Those who are wise lament neither for the living nor the dead. So, was I sharing the slides? I'm not sharing my slides. And you should see the slides now. So, here, probably I'll just blow this up again. Krishna is now going to start answering Arjun's question about compassion. In the first chapter, Arjun had this question about compassion towards his relatives. And now Krishna is going to refute that in these verses, starting from this verse, 11th verse. Right? And he's hitting right the nail the head, saying that you should not lament for living nor for dead. Right? So Krishna right away, right? Ashochan and Vashochastam Pragyavadam Shabhashashe Gatasun Agatasuncha Nanu Shochanti Panditaha. So Krishna is saying to him that you're looks as if you're speaking learned words, but what you're speaking is nonsense. Prabhupada is making this point here. So you're talking like a learned man, but you do not know that one who's learned knows what the body of soul is. So he's calling Arjun, Krishna is calling Arjun indirectly a fool. And that's what a guru does. A guru never mixes words. He never sugarcoats words. Well, he can, but he will never give you a wrong message. So he'll give you a clear message. Right? So that's the beauty of Bhagavad Gita and what Krishna is speaking here. Right? So yeah, okay. Let me see if Prabhupada is bringing out anything here. Okay. So Krishna is now, he'll talk about it's sort of Sankhya Yoga, analytical study of matter and spirit. right? So there's a difference between the body and the soul. That's the thing that Krishna is highlighting here. If the tire of our car punctures, I sometimes say, "Oh, I had a punctured tire." I didn't have a punctured tire. It was my car that had a punctured tire, and that's the false identification, the Atma Buddhi that we were talking about in the first chapter. That's the basic problem. And when anything wrong happens to our body, we get bewildered, right? So, and then we go through sukha, dukkha, man, apman, right? So we go through all that. That's the duality of this world. But once we realize we are not this body, then we become equipoised, because whatever is coming to it, we see it as a body, happening to our body and not to us. So, ashocha nanva shochastvam, you're lamenting for something that should not be lamented at all, right? When the soul departs, the subtle body also goes with it. Okay, so subtle body is the link between the soul and the matter, soul and this body that we have. Right? So yeah, so we are not this body, we are a soul, but we are connected to this body through our subtle body, which is mind, intelligence, and false ego, right? And when a person is very deeply connected to to this body, the subtle body takes him to another similar body. But if we have severed that connection, then we go to the spiritual world. So this is the beginning of the description of a soul, that there is something beyond this body, which is important. That's what Krishna is starting to speak here. So whenever we get a guru, one of the first symptoms or one of the first things you will see that is the guru will chastise us, right? It could be verbal or it could be by actions. Right? Yeah. I'll take a pause here and see if anybody had any thoughts, comments, something that was left unaddressed, or because now Krishna will start speaking about the soul. No questions? Everybody clear? Okay. I'll ask a question. Who will tell me what is Sankhya Yoga? Explain Sankhya Yoga in one sentence. Let's see who can explain. Whom did not I ask yet? Whose hand is raised? Gandharvika, yes, please.
Sankhya Yoga is analyzing the elements by counting.
By counting?
Counting the elements. So there are two types of Sankhya Yoga. One is counting, and eventually they discover there's a one element, which is soul, that they cannot be analyzed. And then another part of Sankhya is like total materialism. They just see everything as from the perspective of the point of view of seeing the materials. So that is one. The second one is not God conscious. And then the first Sankhya Yoga is another version of God consciousness. Sorry, I'm sure I didn't explain, but...
No, I think you got it in the first sentence when you said it's the analytical study. That was the right statement you started with. It is an analytical study. And you're right that there are two types of Sankhya. Prabhupada explains that one is the Sankhya that was spoken by Kapila Muni to Devahuti in the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. The other, Kapila Muni was a cheater. So Prabhupada clarifies that in the Bhagavatam also to us. So yes, so Sankhya Yoga is the analytical study of this material world, right? And then why do we need Sankhya? So that like somebody can question, right? If Bhakti is the essence of Bhagavad Gita, why is Krishna starting with this analytical? Oh, you are this body, you're not this body, you're a soul, your soul cannot be burnt, your soul cannot be wet, all that. Krishna is going through a lot of details, right? Because it's because such knowledge, it first of all, it awards us tolerance, right? Because we realize that, oh, this material nature is meant to frustrate us, meant to frustrate our endeavors to enjoy. So once you understand this material nature, you will realize the purpose of this material nature, right? And then it also helps us to focus more on our spiritual aspects, right? If we are not convinced that I am a body, I'm not a body, right? If I'm always thinking that yes, I am a body, then there is no sense in reading Bhagavad Gita. It's a waste of time. Because the first thing that we have to be convinced of, that I'm this body, it's made of material elements, and I have to find an answer. That's why Krishna is starting right here on Sankhya.
Is it, Prabhu, soul is also material? I mean, considered material soul?
So your question is that soul is considered material?
Yeah, it should be spiritual.
Yeah, the soul is not material. No, it's spiritual, yes.
But it is like a Sankhya Yoga is learning of the soul.
Sankhya Yoga is the analytical study of this material world.
Okay, material world is soul also in it.
No.
Mm.
Well, we are in this material world, right? So in one way, you are understanding the relationship of the soul with the material world. So yeah, you can say, but then yeah, Sankhya Yoga is actually just understanding what this world is made up of. Yes, Sandeep.
Prabhuji, you said that eventually when the body does not exist, right? The subtle body, I mean, the material body does not exist. The subtle body goes with the soul, right? And then based on whatever karma or whatever, like it comes back. So probably the only question is like, so the process we are doing here, right? Essentially like reading Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam and all of that, is to kind of get rid of that subtle body or purify that subtle body. Purify, not get rid of it, right? Because I think because soul itself is an energy, right? So if there's no body, how can like soul experience anything, right?
So the subtle body is not a body.
It's not a body.
So when you see, let's say, we say there are ghosts, right? Ghosts. So what are ghosts? Ghosts are nothing but living entities who don't have this physical body to enjoy, right? If I don't have this physical body, how will I enjoy? No mouth to eat, no hands to touch anything, no nose to smell anything, right? But as a soul, I am there, right? So, but the soul needs a body to enjoy in this material world. So imagine the soul is still in this material world, but does not have a body. But it has mind and intelligence. So mind has that concept. Okay, I can enjoy this thing, but because I don't have a body, I cannot. So that's why living in a ghost is a very, very uncomfortable position to be in. So I'm not sure if that's what you were asking, but
so is mind the same as subtle body, or is mind is not the subtle body?
Your mind, intelligence, and ego make up the subtle body. Okay. Those are the three components of your subtle body. That's why it's called subtle, because it's not visible. Your gross body is visible, the body that we can see. That's the gross body. Your subtle body is mind, intelligence, and ego. And then there is us, soul, sitting there. How do I connect? The soul connects with this body is through the mind, intelligence, and ego. That's how it's connecting through this body, right? My mind is telling me, or my intelligence is telling me, oh, I want to enjoy this. Then the body acts that way. So that's the connection between the soul and the body.
So
that's why Krishna.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
No, that's why Krishna is starting from this point. Because if this fundamental point is not clear to all of us, how will we understand the other aspects of bhakti? How will we even understand bhakti if we say, no, I'm this body? How will I understand bhakti, which is a very soulful thing? It's related to the soul, not this body. Sorry, yes, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, Pradeep. So it does make sense. Like material body, obviously there is no exist. I mean, it's all material, right? It's just kind of goes back to the earth element. But the subtle body actually goes with the soul, right? But my confusion is like, is the subtle body always stays with the soul, or actually that subtle body also get destroyed when somebody is eventually, elevated enough, like a pure devotee? Do they still have a
It,
subtle body with them, or they are
it
like
gets
pure
purified.
soul, pure soul?
Purified. As I said, it gets purified.
Okay, so they don't just exist in form of soul, right? They also carry us some kind of purified subtle body with them.
Yes, yes.
That
So if you go to spiritual world, people have different intelligence. People have their different mindsets, right? Uh, so yeah, you carry your that with you, but it becomes purified. It doesn't have any material contamination to it.
awesome, makes sense, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, let's move on to the next verse. Okay, yes. So Krishna is starting to chastise Arjun. So now let's come to the next verse. Never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings, nor in the future shall any of us cease to be. Right? Important verse starts here. Every eternality of soul and its individuality is being referred here. Right? That is why Prabhupada criticizes the Mayavadis, because the Mayavadis say that eventually we go and become one with Krishna. But here Krishna is not saying that. He's saying there was never a time when I did not exist, nor you did not exist, nor all these other people did not exist. And they will also continue to exist in the future. So where is the concept of merging with Krishna? That is why Mayavadis are cheating. They're cheating religion. Right? So, but here Krishna is not saying that. So this verse emphatically refutes Mayavad. Right? And it establishes eternality of that soul, of that individual person, living entity. Right? Prabhupada gives the analogy that Mayavadis are like they're licking the honey jar from outside, right? So they're not able to taste the honey. Sometimes they say that Krishna is also under illusion. Right? So if Krishna is under illusion, why to hear Bhagavad Gita? Yeah. Prabhupada talks about Mayavad in detail in this purport, so you can read that. And then comes famous verses 13 and 14. Dehi no asmin yatha dehe kaumaram yauvanam jara tatha dehantara praptir dhiras tatranam hriyati. As the embodied soul continuously passes in this body from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. A sober person is not bewildered by such a change. If you see the Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita, in the photograph section, there is a photograph where the life cycle is shown, right? Up from a baby to a grown up, and then grow old, and then die, and that. So there's a beautiful picture that's based on this verse. That we are always passing through. Right? So this is a proof of the soul existing. The soul is indestructible. So fight Arjun. Right? So this is a direct answer to Arjun's compassion problem. Oh, that my relatives will die. Right? So when we say like, oh, when we look at a child, the child is growing, right? We're saying that, oh yes, you're growing, but that the body is growing, not the soul. The consciousness does not change. Right? I still remember I was 7 years old and my father bought me my first bicycle. And I still remember the color of the bicycle. I very clearly remembered in my mind how it was and what my first ride was like, but I don't have that 7-year-old body anymore. So the body is changing, but the soul, the consciousness is not changing. Right? So that continuity that stays despite the change, right? That's the soul. And that continuity is what you have to be more concerned about, Arjun. Don't worry about those external changes, right? So science has proven that every 7 years, every single cell of your body has changed. So you have a practically new body every 7 years. But it's very hard for people to understand this. There was a devotee once giving a class at a university, and he was stressing on the fact that you're not this body. So an old professor stood up and said, if I'm not my body, whose body am I? Right? What an absurd question. So people are not, they have no idea. No idea. So you're not the body is the first lesson being given in the Bhagavad Gita. Right? So the first life-affirming message in Bhagavad Gita is that biology is not your destiny. Right? Life extends far beyond the mortality of this body. Our bodies are just external shells. They are temporary housing. So we are on a multi-life journey through this material existence. Right? Even though we are on this multi-life journey, we as a soul have the capacity, we are capable of accessing and relishing eternal happiness, Satchit Anand, at the spiritual level. So that's the importance of this verse. Let's see what Prabhupada is saying in this. Is there something that, again, he brings out the Mayavadi philosophy. Okay, I think he's done. And 14th is kind of a continuation. So it could be that, okay, you can say, okay, yes, you're not this body, Krishna, or your body is always changing, right? So Krishna is telling that to Arjun. So then the question comes, what to do? Okay, yes, I'm seeing this body changing, but what should I do about it? Like, how do I accept the fact? So Krishna says, Matra sparshas tu konteya shishtoshna shukha dikhuda agama paino nitya stam titikshava bharata. So titikshava is what he's teaching him. Titikshava means tolerate. And this concept of tolerating comes many times in Bhagavad Gita. Titikshava, dhira, there's so many words that Krishna uses. Right? So just try to tolerate it. Right? O son of Kunti, the non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress and their disappearance in due course are like the appearance and disappearance of winter and summer seasons. They arise from sense perception. O Sion of Bharata, and one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. Right? So just asking us not to be disturbed. Right? So this is the application of verse 13. That your body is constantly changing. So learn to tolerate the dualities. Right? Matra sparshas. Matra sparshas means contact of the senses to sense objects. What does that lead to? Sitoshna sukha dukha. Pain, happiness, heat, cold. Right? And what is the nature of that matra sparshas? Agama painya nityas. It comes and goes. Just like sukha is temporary, dukha is also temporary. So there was this king who asked his ministers to go and find something that will make him happy when he's sad and make him sad when he's happy. So one of his ministers came back with a ring and he gave it to that. And the king asked, what do you mean? How will this make me happy? He said, read what's written on it. And it was written on it that this too shall pass. So when you read that statement that this too shall pass, that today I am happy, this too shall pass, will make you sad. Today if I'm sad, and if I read this too shall make you, this too shall pass, and I become happy that, oh, this sadness will also pass away someday, right? So, and then Prabhupada is giving an example of a lady who, is it lady? Yes, that how in India it becomes very hot in the summers, but women don't hesitate to cook in the kitchen because they are not looking at it from a bodily platform, right? They are just executing their duty in spite of those climatic inconveniences, as Prabhupada is saying, right? Similarly, Krishna is asking Arjun to fight as a Kshatriya. He should not move away from the prescribed duty just because of the dualities. That this is my friend, this is my uncle, and so those are bodily surface. Yeah. And then there are two names given to Arjun here. So, which are the two names given to Arjun? Konteya and Bharata. And they both demonstrate that he's coming from a great dynasty and you should act accordingly. You should not inflate your false ego. You belong to a great family, so act accordingly. And sometimes tolerance seems like impotence to people. That if somebody becomes tolerant, people think, oh, he's not good enough, right? But devotees use tolerant in many different ways. So idea of tolerance doesn't mean we become important. Idea is to allow things to happen, but we keep our priorities intact. Tolerance means you let the small things be the small things. You don't let them be the big things. You don't worry about them. But if you start worrying about every small thing, then our life will become miserable. So, and then what happens when we become titikshava? When we become tolerant, we'll be able to do our duty better. So nowadays there is a big principle, right, that people talk about. Take a pause before you answer or you reflect. So there's a pause and reflect principle nowadays, which is it's a management principle, right? So it's just proactive behavior, being conscious of what the other person's needs or interests or concerns are, and being empathetic towards it. Right? So that's coming from this verse. So in a provoking situation, there would be a gap between the stimulation and the response. And how you use that gap defines our life. Right? So people who are not very impetuous, they don't just immediately give an answer or respond. Then they are intelligent, who tolerate. So we learn to tolerate. So I'll take a pause here, and we can start later next week. But I want to see if anybody has any comments or questions. It's an important